First of all, we have Mr. Zafar Masud with us, who is Chairman, Pakistan Banks Association and the President, Bank of Punjab. My first question will be to him. Why large businesses can access bank financing easily? What needs to be done to make it easier for SME sector in agriculture to get bank financing?
Shukriya, Hassan Saab. Thank you very much, ADB. Thank you, FAO, and our most favorite Agriculture Department, Punjab. First of all, let me just start out with saying that, and I said that earlier in a roundtable that was organized by the Agriculture Department in Punjab, that, nowhere in the world, and I'm making a very strong statement here, nowhere in the world priority sector financing, including agriculture, works without subsidy from the government. So please, as a starting point, never shy away for us raising your hand and asking for the subsidy from the government. If you talk about USA, which are developed worlds, it's apparently free market, although that whole notion of free market is now falling down. But nevertheless, in a free market there too, Javed Saab, $50 billion of subsidies are extended, mainly in the form of, crop insurance. You talk about European Union, $60 billion has been extended. So I don't know why we have this, unnecessary shyness to not to demand for the subsidy for the agriculture sector. And as we delve more into this discussion, I'll highlight certain other points too on why it is important, given the nature of agriculture business per se. If you do not demand for the subsidy, then somebody like energy will take away 80 to 85% of the total subsidy allocated by the government. In my humble opinion, if anybody deserves this kind of subsidy, that's agriculture sector, not energy, not anybody else. So that's the starting point. Now, this problem that you talked about, Asad, basically, it's a triangular problem. I call it a triangular problem, starting from the borrower, where there is certainly a lack of documentation, lack of responsibility to go for the documentation. There is certainly a mindset change which is necessary on the part of the banks. We are still operate under collateral-based lending and don't talk about cash flow-based lending, and hence certain regulatory requirements that we shall demand, we do not demand them. And last but not the least is the government and DFI demand in terms of making sure that the incentives are there in the form of subsidies and the ecosystem enforcement is there. For example, the ideal example to my mind right now is to get the financial data exchange going, for example. These are the important elements. Until unless we'll be able to collaborate on all of this, I don't think we'll be able to put a robust ecosystem in place to addressing the structural problems in agriculture sector.
While coming to the prudential regulations, there is a handicap of this collateralization. And globally, the banks are very much hesitant to invest in this, on-field agriculture. There are other segments of agriculture which are agriculture implements, laser levelers. They are quite secure. But coming to the mainstream agriculture, which is open to air, there is hesitance worldwide, globally as well. Now coming to the next question, given the strong, permanent and largely stable role of agriculture in the economy, are banks able to provide long-term financing partnership to the sector and not be distracted by short-term seasonal variations?
So just to begin with, Hassan Saab, you talked about agriculture machinery as a collateral.
These are quite stable as compared to the open.
No, they're not actually. So that's what I'm trying to drive the point home. They're actually not stable at all. This is not a car, for example, which has a marketability. It is always have a very limited marketability, and the dilemma of the banks is, Hassan Saab, that banks deal in documents, not in goods. The moment we go out, and especially in specialized machinery, which we have repossessed as a result of default, we never dispose it off or get the right price. You know, on a slightly lighter note, Bank of Punjab at one point in time have half of the main boulevard in Lahore. We just could not have been able to sell it. There were legal issues, there were other problems. So these are the practical problems because of which the specialized products like this becomes a little bit of a problem. Now, let's talk about the long-term financing. The problem with the long-term financing in agriculture is that agriculture per se is a short-term cash flow based business. So you have spurts of 6 months that you have to target. For example, if you have to do a 5-year financing. The second challenge, and I really salute our farmers for this. I really mean it. I'm not saying this to make you happy. I don't have to make you happy. Banks in any case don't make farmers happy. But the fact of the matter is that the kind of uncertainties that you deal with are not there in any other business. And therefore, the kind of the assessment that is necessary for the banks, I don't think we are prepared for it for a long-term financing. The kind of predictability models are necessary. The kind of assessment of the expertise are required on the agriculture side. We are not necessarily there. And that is the reason why the long-term financing has always been, we talked about the collateral, and then in this situation, the collateral becomes even more pronounced than otherwise because of the uncertainties which are linked and the short-term cycles which are attached with the agriculture financing process.
Zafar Saab, since you are also chairman Pakistan Banks Association at the forum of State Bank Agriculture Advisory Committee, we keep on discussing every year how to increase agriculture credits, but the results are still not forthcoming. Any suggestion on your part as a chair of the Pakistan Banks Association?
Saab, thank you very much for raising this point. Actually, this is also not correct. If you look at the number, we have been consistently meeting the number which has been increasing over the last many years. Oh, you're talking about in the long-term financing? Yes, yes. So long-term financing, as I highlighted you, there are inherent risks attached to it. And we need to be mindful of the fact that those inherent risks have to be captured and tackled how? Absolutely. And I just want to again appreciate Sahu Saab and his team, Agriculture Department. I could see Rana Saab there, I could see Hafiz Saab there. The way they have come out with the agriculture mechanization farming product, which by the way, we've already met the target for June of approved credits, is something which is needed to be done in order to ramp up the financing in long term. And I completely, so there are multiple issues there. There are issues of regulatory requirements. There is a framework which is necessary for the service providers to be there. There is a issue on the supply side of OEMs. So, look, the point is, Saab, that we have to take the first step. That first step has been taken by the Agriculture Department in Punjab, and now I think it will open up the opportunities for the banks to be more comfortable as the trend. अब मैं आपसे एक चीज शेयर कर लेता हूँ. With the due apologies to my friends visiting from abroad or don't understand Urdu, this I have to say in Urdu. When we started, working on the Kisan card, Sahu Saab is sitting here in the audience, and Hafiz Saab is also there. No bank, and I'm making a very strong statement, no bank has held their hand and said that they will be able to do it. They took the initiative still, they convinced us, and we worked together on this. The result is that today, banks are lining up and complaining about Sahu Saab that he is not including the other banks into the equation 2 years down the road. And this is the ecosystem development which is necessary on the long-term financing too, not just merely the clean financing that we've done in the Kisan.
I was just trying to refer back to this because when we tried to launch this Kisan card, there were a lot of apprehensions.
Yes.
There were apprehensions that the default rate could be up to 50% or maybe 30% could
Yeah.
be recovered, but fortunately we have a very good result. Now coming to the third question, downstream agri businesses SME require 3 to 5 year financing for machinery and cold chains, yet loans are typically limited to 1 year at high rates. Is there any specific initiative products bank is implementing or planning for these downstream actors, especially for high value horticulture clusters?
So I just mentioned to you about that high tech mechanization farming. The other product, I don't know if the MD Physic is here. He has come out with a very interesting proposition jointly with Bank of Punjab and Agriculture Department, whereby we are now talking about financing SMEs and slightly larger than SMEs, the commercial corporates, in terms of going for long-term financing for capital expansion. And that is also obviously happening with the support of the government of Punjab. Now, again, as I said, and at the outset, that's why I highlighted this point. I am not the most favorite of the government when it talk, as in federal government and State Bank of Pakistan, when I talk about demanding the subsidy for agriculture, because without that support, agriculture cannot take off. We just have to clear our minds that this is the way it works globally. This is the work in Pakistan, like climate for that matter.
Yes, because there is no insurance sector in agriculture at the time.
Let me just elaborate on it. First is that, the structure that Food Department has put together, it is effectively close to the EWR, although it is not purely EWR, but nevertheless it is quite similar to that. Through the aggregators though, it's been incorporated, and we are hoping that eventually the benefit will go to the farmer, whether it's EWR or aggregator financing model. The benefit has to go to the farmers at the end of the day. So that is a right step in the direction. But in EWR, I just want to highlight that, the most important thing is to have the ecosystem in place whereby bank doesn't have to rely on the commodities to be sold out.
Because the bank deals in documents.
Absolutely. And Khurram Saab is sitting here, who is the CEO of PSX. He has yesterday made a big announcement that rice, for example, there is a market making concept which has been implemented. So congratulations to you and PSX for this. If we'll be able to create that market making mechanism, then I guess we will be able to see much more better uptake on the EWR side, even if the explicit policy is not rolled out by the government, the ecosystem will start supporting the entire financing under EWR.
Is there any lack of awareness among the farmers or users or the prospective investors?
अच्छा सर, मैं आपसे गुजारिश करूं, हम समझते हैं कि फार्मर बेचारे को कुछ नहीं पता, आपको 4 दफा बेच के खा जाए वो, बल्कि बैंकों को तो खा ही सकता है. तो प्लीज डोंट अंडर एस्टिमेट आवर फार्मर्स. दे आर वेरी वेरी स्मार्ट पीपल. They are very savvy as far as business is concerned. They know which side of the toast it's buttered from. They exactly know when EWR will come through, what do they need to do. So I don't think that is a problem. The problem is that there is reluctance on the part of the banks at this point in time to do the financing because of the lack of ecosystem.
Thank you, Zafar Saab, for elaborating.
2-3 चीज़ें. एक तो मुझे बड़ी खुशी हो रही है देख के कि there seems to be some kind of consensus on what needs to be done across the different the stakeholders in the whole equation. Just to share with you the numbers, and Umair Saab has been very kind. मेरा dilemma उमैर साहब ये है कि मेरे जो 2 heads हैं, उसमें एक head जो है उस पर तो BOP is doing an exceptional job. दूसरी तरफ जो है वो PBA की तरफ से बाकी बैंक स्ट्रगल करते हैं. तो जब मैं बात करता हूँ तो सारे मेरे पे चढ़ जाते हैं कि जी आप क्यों बात कर रहे हैं, PBA BOP तो बड़ा अच्छा काम कर रहा है. बट टू बी ऑनेस्ट विद यू, आई हैव टू बी फेयर विद द अदर बैंक्स बिकॉज पंजाब हैज़ अ मच बेटर डिजिटल इकोसिस्टम. ये हमारे PIDB के चैम्पियन यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं. देन दी एनीबडी एल्स इज, एंड एट द स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ दिस BOP हैज़ बीन एबल टू डू 800,000 फार्मर्स की फाइनेंसिंग अंडर किसान कार्ड. 56% उमैर साहब आर द फर्स्ट टाइम बोरोवर्स जो आप बात फरमा रहे हैं. And this is a huge feat, and I think, and that is something which I wanted to highlight that this is if the ecosystem is there, the banks.
Very risky operation. Everyone was hesitant.
But 99% is the recovery now. Everybody wants to be part of that bandwagon now.
Very apprehensive whether it would take.
So, essence of a few things here. One is the fact that we need to understand that banks are, and by the way, 1/3 of the total borrowers are BOP alone. Out of 3 million, 1 million are BOP alone. Every business has its role and work carved out. Commercial banks cannot do the business which is high risk business, as they call it. This is because they're the trustee of the depositors. There's an extent to which they can take the risk, but then that's where the role of people like ADB comes handy. And I'm very glad that you talked about the blended financing opportunity. इंफ्रा ज़ामिन के आमिर मसूद साहब भी सामने बैठे हुए हैं. मेरी इन दोनों से बड़ी गुजारिश होगी कि ज़रा थोड़ा सा आप लोग इसको ज़रूर देखिए कि किस तरह आप ADB can come out with a concrete blending financing proposition, and बाकी जो है वो हम पे छोड़ दीजिए. We'll ask the banks to respond to that as well. Right now, that is lacking, but please don't do it in isolation. Please don't do it only sitting with the bureaucrats and the government. Please talk to the practitioners and the banks. If you do not include us, your facility will fall flat. कुछ नहीं होगा, उसके अंदर कोई ऑफ टेक नहीं होगा. ये मैं आपको अभी बता रहा हूँ. और हमेशा गलती हमने ये की है कि हम सरकार के साथ बैठ जाते हैं, ब्यूरोक्रेट के साथ बैठ जाते हैं, उनको नहीं समझ के किस तरह काम होना है. हमें पता है कैसे फाइनेंसिंग होनी है. सो प्लीज हमसे बात कीजिए, आफाक साहब से बात कीजिए और फिर स्ट्रक्चर बनाइए. ऑफ टेक इज गारंटीड द वे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पंजाब हैज डन. द मोस्ट प्रॉमिसिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी, आपने एक्सपोर्ट्स की बात की, इज इन पाकिस्तान इज रिलेटेड टू एग्रीकल्चर अलोन. अभी तो कुछ भी शेयर नहीं, इट्स मेरली 60% of the total exports का, वो भी एक प्रोडक्ट है.
Currently we are importing more than 10 billion
जी,
US dollars
वो
of
अलग
agri
है.
products.
वो that's on the other side. So if you put the two together, $15 billion का current account के ऊपर impact पड़ता है. And I think this is what we need to drive home. It is actually the agriculture which has to drive the exports, not any other sector. हम ये I don't know how, why, but by the way 46.3% directly and indirectly is the contribution in GDP by agriculture alone. जो overall subsidy structure है, that needed to be made more target based and performance driven. टेक्नोलॉजी की बात आफाक साहब ने भी की, उमैर साहब ने की. 100% हमारा इस पे कंसेंसस है. उमैर साहब, मुझे आपकी असिस्टेंस चाहिए होगी. मैंने ऑलरेडी आइडिया फ्लोट कर दिया है फाइनेंशियल डेटा एक्सचेंज का विद नादरा, मगर थोड़ा सा पुश आपकी तरफ से भी आएगा जब इस्लामाबाद में. तो आई थिंक वील बी एबल टू पुश दिस थ्रू. जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने वो कैशलेस पाकिस्तान इनिशिएटिव बनाई हुई कमेटी, उसका मैं भी मेंबर हूँ. उसमें मैंने ये डलवा दिया है. PDA इज लीडिंग दिस. सो वील टॉक अबाउट इट, बिकॉज उसका सबसे बड़ा बेनिफिशरी जो है ना, वो होना ही एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर ने है. जिस तरह आफाक साहब फरमा रहे हैं, आप भी फरमा रहे हैं. आई थिंक वी नीडेड टू वर्क ऑन दिस एंड गेट इट डन. बट आफाक साहब, वी डोंट हैव टू स्टॉप एट फाइनेंशियल डेटा एक्सचेंज अलोन. The entire ecosystem has to be digitized in agriculture, and that would work. जिस तरह आप फरमा रहे थे, मैं आखिर में ये कहूँगा कि जिस तरह आपने फरमाया प्राइस डिस्कवरी, प्लीज बी अ बिट सिंपैथेटिक विद द बैंक्स. बैंक जब फार्मर जो इस बिजनेस को जानता है वो प्राइस डिस्कवरी पे किस रिस्क से एक्सपोज्ड है, तो आप बैंकों को कैसे एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं कि दे विल बी एबल टू टेक दैट रिस्क? उनका तो ये बिजनेस भी नहीं है. So please be empathetic and sympathetic to the banks. This is not their job to take price risk on the commodity. This is, you have to cover this. Either it has to be covered through PSX or some other way, but this is not bank's role. ये आपको please understand करना पड़ेगा. मैं बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ आफाक साहब का कि उन्होंने पॉइंट रेस किया, क्योंकि हर दफ़ा ये आता है कि जी प्राइसिंग रिस्क भी बैंक ले ले, कमोडिटी रिस्क भी बैंक ले ले. ये बैंक का काम नहीं है. ये काम जो है मार्केट मेकर का है, ये काम एक्सचेंजेस का, ये उनको करना पड़ेगा, बैंक नहीं कर सकते काम. और वो डीरेगुलेशन ऑफ द सेक्टर, सर उमैर साहब ने फरमाया, जब तक आप सेक्टर को डीरेगुलेट नहीं करेंगे, ये प्राइसिंग डिस्कवरी का इशू भी रिजॉल्व नहीं होगा. दे आर bosom buddies and linked with each other. Lastly, frankly speaking, उमैर साहब, प्राइवेट पब्लिक पार्टनरशिप इज अ माइंडसेट इशू और कोई इशू नहीं है. आप यकीन मानिए, जिस दिन हमारे ब्यूरोक्रेट्स ने अपना दिल खुला कर लिया और बड़ा कर लिया कि वो प्राइवेट सेक्टर को अकोमोडेट करने लगेंगे, उस दिन प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप विल टेक ऑफ. आपके पास एग्जाम्पल मौजूद है Government of Punjab में BOP and Government of, because we actually behave as, although we are 57% owned by the Government of Punjab, but we operate as independent entity completely as private sector. और जो जिन लोगों का मेरे साथ interaction हुआ, they will bear me on this. We always operate like a private sector. If that can work in Punjab at agriculture department or SME department or housing department, that's only because of the change in mindset. Until unless we arrive at that change in mindset, Hasan Saab, we are not going anywhere. Thank you.